Hi everyone, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about credentialing and contracting with insurances across state lines. I know that I have addressed this in other videos, but I haven't done a video specifically about this topic other than for telehealth. And so I did have a viewer ask me to review this in an upcoming video. So here it is. It will be probably very short. There isn't a ton to talk about. It's pretty straightforward, but I do think it's worth a video and to help educate my viewers. If you are someone who maybe lives in a state that could possibly be treating patients that live in another nearby neighboring state, this could apply to you. And I'm going to not include telehealth in this at all. We're taking that out of this equation because that can be very different. But this is actually going to be for treating patients on site in a clinic. In Oregon, in the Portland metro area, we are very close to the state of Washington. They're just across the bridge, and some places it might be closer to see somebody in Portland than for somebody who lives in the state of Washington to go to their nearest city or location for a specialist. And so in those situations, we do have insurances that recognize that. And so sometimes they will include the Portland metro area into the state of Washington within a certain mile radius to include patients that live in a zip code in Washington. So if you are in a state that is neighboring another state, and it's very likely patients could be coming to you from that state, I would check with the insurances when you're working on enrollment for the group with the contracts to see if they would include or if it's incorporating patients who could have that insurance in another state that you would be seeing them. This is something that is very individualized. This is something that's very specific to geographical locations, specialties, and the way the insurances are set up. So it's very important that when you are trying to get a group enrolled, which means you would be asking for a contract to become participating, you ask them how that works, if that's a common situation for you. Ask them, does this only cover patients in Oregon, or would this cover patients in Oregon and Washington within a certain radius because of our location to the state of Washington, and patients that live closer to us or that might work over here and it'd be easier for them to come to the doctor over here, things like that. And usually it's the bigger populous metropolitan area that would be the driving factor. So Portland is bigger than Vancouver, Washington. So in that situation, that's why the Portland kind of trumps the Vancouver, Washington. But it just kind of all depends on the insurance, very honestly. And you have to ask those questions. With credentialing, the providers, same thing. You just have to find out what kind of entity or plan that the credentialing honors. So if patients could have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oregon and live in Washington because either they work in Oregon and get their insurance through their employer, or it encompasses a certain radius into the state of Washington and Vancouver, then that credentialing would also be honored for those providers under that plan. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Again, you have to ask the right questions. Now, if you don't have a situation where you're close to a neighboring state with a border and you're just wanting to have practice locations either in multiple states, or you want to see patients from other states because maybe you're hoping people will see you, there's different ways to handle that. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, even though they're handled geographically differently in different locations throughout the United States, it is a payer across the United States. So if you were to see a patient with Blue Cross Blue Shield of California in Oregon, but you're participating with your local Oregon Blue Cross Blue Shield, then that would be honoring the in-network status for their Blue Cross Blue Shield of California. And you would see on the back of the patient's insurance card where it would say If you are participating with your local Blue Cross plan, then we will honor that, and you would just send the claim to that local plan. And then what happens is they would forward it to the California plan or whatever other state it is. So that is really nice. They make it very clear on the back of cards. If you are in a neighboring state and patients are going to be coming across, it might be worth finding out if you can get a contract with that insurance specifically for that location so that you can honor it. If you're going to have locations in the other state, of course, you would need a contract for that state's Blue Cross Blue Shield. So there's a few different situations here. Some where if you're anticipating seeing patients from other states, if it's a plan that's seen throughout the United States, most likely they'll honor the in-network status if you're participating with your local. But again, not all insurances are that way. And so that's something that if it's not a regular thing of seeing patients from out of state, that you would need to check the patient's eligibility and benefits before they're seen to figure that out. If it's a specialty or a location that you anticipate seeing a lot of patients from out of state, then I would recommend reaching out to that state's specific branch of Blue Cross Blue Shield or United Healthcare, Cigna, Aetna. Tell them that your situation is that you practice in one state, but you anticipate seeing a lot of patients from the other state, and ask them how they want to handle that or how those are handled. Because all insurances are different. It does take a lot of work. You're going to have to be on the phone. You're going to have to be looking things up on their portals and their online pages, but you can find the information. Unfortunately, not everyone is the same, so you have to do a lot of research. And then, of course, if you plan on having locations in those other states, brick and mortar, you're going to be practicing, you basically start all over in each state in which you practice. So all of Oregon providers would need Oregon licensures, Oregon DEAs, and you would need to have contracts with the payers in Oregon. And then if you were also going to have locations in Washington, California, Idaho, same thing. Each individual state is handled separately for credentialing and contracting. You might be able to try to do it all at once, depending on if entities will do across states. So you could be like, I have locations in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and California. Can you help me get contracts for your geographical locations of your plans in all of those? Or do you have different sites and people that I have to work with separately in those states to get the contracts for the group and the credentialing done for the providers? It just depends. Some people when they plan on being across the United States, they kind of focus on one area, get those done, move on to a different one. So they don't bite off more than they can chew. It's easier to track. You can ask the providers, the credentialing relations people in one state to see if they will honor or work in another state to help you with another state. But it just takes a lot of research, a lot of questions, a lot of note taking, and it's just not super simple. So again, there's a few different situations that I talked about today. Everybody's situation is going to be different, but hopefully this helps, and I've addressed what situations you are in to help you understand what you need to do. If you have any questions or comments further on this topic, please leave that in the comments below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please share this with all of your colleagues whom you feel would benefit. Thank you for your support, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.